Aloha, you are watching Living Delicious with Helena, episode 2 with fun-loving, fun-employed, and pretty outrageously crazy attorney. So just to wrap up, if you missed the previous show, I wanted to say Croatian. Gospodin Ethan Okura, which in Croatian means Mr. Ethan Okura, is right here with us. Ethan, do you know why did I say this in Croatian?
Gospodin, because we were just talking about Croatian words.
And you can speak Croatian?
A little bit.
Yeah, how did you learn?
When I was in law school, I did a summer internship in Croatia, and I spent 2 months in Zagreb. And so before going out there, I bought a Teach Yourself Croatian book, and I learned about 400 vocabulary words in the 3 days before I went out there, and got to practice for a couple months.
So now you're getting a taste of this person who is actually... Can you just wrap up the past show for people who didn't have a chance to see just a little bit about you quickly and fun, so we can go to the juicy part?
So my name is Ethan Okrua. I grew up in Hilo on the Big Island. I went away to the mainland for school. I went to law school in New York City, practiced law at the largest law firm in the world there for 3 years, and then came back to Hawaii to live a fun life as an attorney.
Yes, so fun and attorney. How many attorneys really have fun?
From the looks of it, not very many.
I know one who doesn't much. I mean, it's just kind of a nice life, comfortable life, but not magical.
Most of them work too many hours.
Yes.
Most of them are too stressed.
Yes.
And most of them are too serious. A lot of attorneys end up having alcohol abuse problems as self-medication for dealing with stress.
So how do you deal with stress?
I have fun.
But how do you have time to have fun? Attorneys don't have time. You just said it.
Most of them don't. One thing I did differently was when I left New York and came back to Hawaii, I came to manage the Honolulu office of an estate planning law firm. And my conditions were that I did not want to bill my time on an hourly basis. Most lawyers, they bill their time out by an hour. And for me, I thought that was the stupidest idea that any business ever came up with, because an hour is not worth the same when you're tired, when you're energetic, with one person or another person. The whole idea of a billable hour, I think, is really bad. And it gives the lawyer an incentive to take a longer time to get stuff done, right? Yeah. Which isn't good for
not productive.
Yeah, and if he does a great job and can do it faster and better than someone else, he gets paid less. So I decided I would only do flat rate work when I was coming back to Hawaii, and I would not be billing my time hourly, and I would not keep track of my time. So that's one way that I made it a lot more fun and a lot more...
Do other attorneys do it your way, or this is self-created
no,
idea?
There are a few. There's been a big movement recently for lawyers to do what they call alternative billing strategies. And I remember watching on YouTube and on the internet, there was some attorney out of Boston who has been doing a consulting business teaching lawyers how to do different billing strategies. And he says, you know, if you spend 1,000 hours on something that provides no benefit to your client, why should they pay for it?
Exactly.
And if you spend 1 hour coming up with a brilliant idea, because...
Why should they pay you 1 hour?
Right. If you can save them millions and millions of dollars, and it was based on your thousands of hours of experience and study in the past, why should you just get paid for 1 hour for that? It should be the value that you're providing would be some relation to what you're working for. So I moved to that, and that's been a big part of it, to be able to use technology, to use supportive staff to help me get more done, and just work on a model that was not based on a billable hour. So that gives me more time than the average attorney has to enjoy other things in life.
But is your practice still full?
Very, yeah. How do you mean by full?
Do you have a full practice? Do you have
Keep busy?
clients and keep busy and have new customers coming in and out constantly?
Constantly, yes. And that's the other part of it, is that a lot of lawyers don't think of their practice as a business. They went to law school to learn how to do the law. And so if they work at a big law firm, you know, some partner is bringing in business and they work on it as a lawyer. In this small practice, I get to learn all the aspects of a small business management, small business marketing, sales, and I love all of that aspect. And so I put on seminars to teach people, you know, a free seminar for the public to teach them parts of the law. And a lot of clients will come from that, and that's a good marketing tool that we use.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah.
So, okay, then you're a lawyer.
I'm a
and
lawyer.
now, here comes the time, stress.
Uh-huh.
Let's relax.
Sure.
Let's be happy. What do you do?
When I first moved back to Hawaii,
When was that?
2005, February of 2005, I started working here. In New York, I really wanted to do musical theater, Broadway.
And you did it?
I had never acted before. I'd done a lot of dancing and a lot of singing in college. I'd done a cappella. I had toured Europe and Southeast Asia on a dance team performing. And I always wanted to try acting, but I'd never done it. In law school, I did audition for a show called Stomp.
I watched the Stomp.
You watched Stomp?
Oh
Yeah.
my God, you auditioned for Stomp?
Yeah, my roommates looked in the back of the Backstage magazine newspaper, and they saw that they were doing open casting calls. So you didn't have to have an agent or anything, just show up. Anybody could come audition. So they're like, Ethan, you got to go audition for Stomp. And I went down, I put together a resume and a headshot, and there were a couple thousand people auditioning. And I made it through a couple layers of callbacks, and the next day, and the next day. And I finally got cut, but it was a fun experience, and I decided I wanted to do some performing. So when I came back to Hawaii, I got involved with community theater. And
Which one?
my first show was at Army Community Theater at Fort Shafter, and I did the play Guys and Dolls. And I had a supporting role that was really fun. I played Benny South Street. And then from there, I did another play immediately after, and another one immediately after. And I ended up doing 6 shows in a row, back to back to back to back, for about a year and a half.
While you're a lawyer.
While I was practicing law. I would
So
leave work
wonderful.
and run straight to rehearsals, and I would have 4 hours of rehearsals in the evening, and then sometimes Saturday rehearsals. And it was 2 months of practicing for it, and then we'd have performances. So that was my extracurricular. I didn't go home and watch TV. I went to practice for the play.
Wow.
And then I had a lead role in my last performance that was really fun and big, and then I decided to take a break from that and go on with other things.
Like what?
Another thing I got involved with is when I first started college, I picked up fencing, sword fighting. And as a kid, I loved the movie The Princess Bride. Have you ever seen that one? Okay.
I'm not very much of a movie person.
Great movie. Love movies.
Okay, I'll watch that one.
Yeah, I don't watch TV, but I watch movies. I love movies. And The Princess Bride was really, really fun. And they do some sword fighting. And I thought it was cool. I read a lot of fantasy novels. I was kind of a nerdy, geeky guy. And
Are you still?
sure.
Yeah.
But I'm a cool, nerdy, geeky guy now.
I'm cool.
So I read a lot of fantasy novels, the knights in shining armor and all that thing, and I thought it would be fun to learn how to do sword fighting. So I took some fencing classes, and then I had to put that down when I went to law school. So after doing the theater thing, I started doing fencing again, and picked that up again, and I won the state championships a couple of years running. And
Here in Hawaii?
yeah.
Wow.
Did that for a bit. And then on to another hobby. So
Like what?
Swing dancing. So
Why did you choose swing dancing? Prior to swing dancing, were you touring the world with dancing already?
I was. In college, I did international folk dance. So that kind of prepared me for the Stomp audition. That's how I got callbacks.
Yes, but then what was before that? How did you even get yourself to dance? How did you even know you can dance?
I'd never danced until I went to college. and it kind of happened by accident.
Your whole life is an accident. Accidentally you became a lawyer, accidentally you dance.
Yeah, I think the answer here is that if you keep yourself open to opportunities, something presents itself, instead of being afraid and shying away from it and saying, I've never done that before, I don't want to do it, to say, that sounds great, let me try that, let me go at it. Yeah. And so my cousin and I both started college at the same time. And in the honors students orientation the week before school started for freshmen, they had a presentation on international folk dancing, and they taught us a dance. I think it was like a American square dance or something, and then some Israeli dance. So we'd done a couple of these dances, and I didn't really have much fun because I was in a group that didn't know what they were doing, and we couldn't hear the instructions very well. It was a big field. But my cousin loved it, so she went to audition and made one of the backup teams. And so she had to go talk to the director about how to change her schedule around to fit this practice rehearsal schedule into her class. But she couldn't find her way around campus. It was our first week in school. So I'm like, I'll pull out the map and show you where to go. So I walked her to there, and of course they never have enough guys. And the director was like, aha, would you like to dance? I'm like, yeah, right, me, dance. And he says, no, seriously, we need more guys. And, you know, we have availability in our backup teams, yes. You know, the 9, 10, and 11 o'clock, Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule. Are any of those open? I'm like, no, I have classes at all those times. You know, but I was thinking of dropping my physics class and taking it next semester. He's like, well, you know, there's a $6 drop fee for dropping your class, you know, this second week in the semester. But if you join our team, I can do it through the system, and you don't have to pay the $6 drop fee. So I said,
$6?
Okay.
Because of the importance of $6?
I was really frugal then.
Oh my God.
And so for $6, I'm like, oh, why not? Sounds like fun. I'll try it. And I ended up loving it. And so that changed my whole college experience.
So as a kid, you were not listening to some music and kind of grooving with it?
No, I had no skills.
Really?
Yeah. I could not. I was embarrassed at dances because I didn't know how to move well. My older brother was in a dance, like a kind of hip-hop breakdancing group in high school, and I would watch them a little bit, but I was too embarrassed to even try anything.
Really?
So I didn't dance till college.
But now you are so free.
Yes.
You dance here in the studio.
Sure.
Before we start filming. You just dance constantly. Whenever I see you, you are always...
Especially hearing music. Now I really like to move. And
yeah, the Zumba is playing and you are grooving. Wow.
So
then how did you pick up swing dancing? That was a few years later.
Yeah, that actually, of course, was because of a girl.
Oh, of course.
So
Thank God for us.
That's right. Well, yeah. What else motivation do men have to do anything? But I was dating a girl, and she liked swing dancing, so I went with her once, and then I was just like, I'm gonna get good at this. I took private lessons for a few weeks and just practiced, and then she broke up with me like right after that.
After you became good?
Well, no, like a week or two after I started dancing. So I didn't really get to dance with her at all, but I really liked the Lindy Hop swing dancing thing, and so I kept doing it, and now it's like a big part of my recreation and social network. And I went to California and Seattle for 2 different swing dance conferences, and I went to Australia for one. So I've traveled to go to these weekend swing dance events, and a lot of experience from that. So. Thanks to her for that.
Wow, how cool. What else do you do? Okay, I want to tell people what you did.
Okay.
Handstand. So you were walking on your hands.
Yeah.
And then I asked you, can you do push-ups on your hands? And while you were backside down, you said no. And then what happened?
And then you said, well, why don't you try?
No, I didn't say.
Oh, I said, I'll try it.
You said,
I'll try it. I don't know. I've never done it.
First you said, no, I can't. Like, I've almost felt offended to ask you. And then you just did it.
A couple, yeah. I managed to keep my balance and did a couple of handstand
that
push-ups.
was already after you were standing on your hands for at least 45 seconds or a minute.
Yeah.
So you're already getting out of the shape, and then you still go doing push-ups. How do you do that? Are you a gym rat as well? Do you go to gym often and work out?
Not so much. I just started going to the gym about 2 or 3 weeks ago, so maybe that's why. No. In high school, I did gymnastics for a year, and I wanted to learn how to do backflips and handsprings and parallel bars, and so I did a year of gymnastics. And
so when did you learn to do? Yeah, you also did a backflip for me.
Yeah.
2 in a row on a hard floor.
That's when I learned to do handstands. Was when I was in high school.
Yes.
The back tucks I didn't learn until about 3 years ago. My last play I did was West Side Story at Paliku Theater. The director, Ron Bright, beautiful director, he's amazing to work with him. And I was one of the gang members in the Jets gang in this play. And we had to do some fun dance scenes and crazy stuff. And you know, I've always been able to do back handsprings since high school, where I flip with my hands. I've never been able to just jump up and do a back tuck flip. And so I decided I was going to learn that for this show. So about 3 years ago, in my 30s, I went with the dance rehearsals and went to the gymnastics room and practiced and learned how to do it. And so now I can do that too.
And you can speak million languages.
Well, I speak comfortably in English, Japanese, Pidgin, and Spanish. And then I just dabble in a few other languages. I studied a little bit of Polish. I lived in Croatia. I visited Brazil and know a handful of Brazilian Portuguese words.
You can speak with accents.
A bit.
Yes. Okay. Can we continue conversation with some accents?
What would you like to hear?
What did you do the other day? The Irish?
Scottish.
Scottish.
It was Scottish. Yes. So, well, the way I like to do this one is that as a kid, I grew up in Scotland. I spent my first 6 years there. Lived in a small town outside of Edinburgh. It's called Kakori. It's a great little fishing village. And then my father, he was Pakistani. My mother, she was Scottish. And we lived there until I was about 6, and then we moved to Hilo, and I grew up the rest of my life there, and that's how I learned to speak Scottish.
And then you were in Hilo. Then what did you learn how to speak in Hilo?
Pidgin.
Continue.
Well, I'm not as good at Pidgin
No,
anymore.
just Pidgin.
Okay, Rakhine. So when I was growing up Hilo, actually we used to talk Pidgin the whole time. That was like the natural way to speak, yeah. But then when I went to go law school in mainland, I had to learn how to talk good kind of English, but by everybody think I know could get good grades or study good or whatever. So I don't really talk Pidgin like that. I'm sure everybody gonna think, wait, but that guy sound howly already, because I spent so many years on the mainland that.
But if you would go back to Hilo,
it
and
comes
you
back.
just pick it up in 2 days.
Sure. Yeah.
And then you can speak with Russian accent.
This one is very difficult for me to understand, but when I have visit one time in Ukraine, I lived 3 days visiting there and had experience running into Ukrainian mafia. It was a very scary experience.
Is that true?
True.
Are you speaking the truth now?
Da. Yes.
Da.
I was head running with the Ukrainian mafia when I was there. I was traveling with the folk dance team,
yes.
And we were performing at a festival in Lutsk, Ukraine.
Yeah.
And of course, these festivals were so fun. Basically, we had people from 30 different countries. We had dancers from the United States, from Israel, from Romania, from Macedonia, from Poland, Ukraine, New Zealand, just dancers from all these different countries doing their country's national traditional dances. And so they'd have their live band, their costumes, and they'd perform on stage and do parades. And so we had 2 parades and 3 evening shows that week. And other than that, it was just free time to mingle and meet people from different countries, and everybody's trying to communicate. It was so much fun. So in Ukraine, in the evenings, we would go to the discotheque, or the nightclubs.
We say discotheque in Croatia, so for me that's very
sure.
Disco or discotheque.
Discotheque, yeah, that's what they call it in Europe.
Discotheque.
So we're at the nightclub, and my friends and I were just there having a good time, totally innocent, young college students. We weren't trying to pick up chicks or anything like that.
Why not?
we're just having fun, meeting people, learning language, doing language exchange, cultural thing. And so we were dancing with these 3 Ukrainian girls, a blonde, a brunette, and a redhead, of course. And one of them spoke English, and one of my friends spoke Russian. So between the 2 of them, all 6 of us were kind of communicating with each other and translating. And the blonde girl said something through her friend, interpreting to me, you know, I need to go talk to my brother, he's really protective. And she went to talk to this guy at the big guy sitting back in the corner.
Big Russian guy.
Yeah, sitting,
6'4".
just watching the dance, but not dancing, sitting at the entrance. And she was talking to him, and I was dancing with her friends, and we were just, you know, making conversation and learning about their culture. And then she came back, and then she asked for my address. She's like, "Oh, I want to write to you sometime." So I gave her my address, and then she went back to go talk to her brother, and then she came back all pouty and said, "Oh, can I have your address again? I dropped it." And I was like, "That's kind of weird." And then right then, her brother came up to me, walked up to me, put his arm around my neck and shook it and spoke to me in Russian. And I didn't understand what he was saying, but he was, well, actually, he spoke to me in Ukrainian, but blah, 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 blah. And I was like,
all you can hear, "I will kill you."
That's what it sounded like to me. And my friend was like, "Just say no problem, follow me, and I'll explain everything to you." So I was like, looking at him, "Нет проблем." And then I walked around with my friend, and he kind of shook me and sent me off. I walked with my friend around. He says, "You know, that guy is the head of the mafia in this town, and I know personally 7 people he killed last year. You don't want to mess with him." And I was like, "Oh, was he mad that I was dancing with his sister?" And his sister? "Oh, no, 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 that's his girlfriend." I'm like, "No, no, no, she told me that's her brother." He's like, "No, that's her man." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And a couple nights later, I went out to a different discotheque again after where all the performers from this festival were performing. And he walks in holding her hand with about 8 thugs walking behind him. And they look through the crowd and see me, and he comes walking straight to me. And I was like, "Oh, great, we'll see what this is gonna be." But of course, you know, Hilo boy, I was like, play tough. I wasn't scared, you know.
Are you really not scared?
I was a little scared, but I was acting like no big deal, not scared. And he walked up to me, and I mean, I was scared because a little bit because I was in a country where, like, just outside the nightclub, there were armed guards with machine guns. Yeah, like, it was,
no rules.
Yeah, it was crazy. And actually, the night before, one of the guards at our hotel got stabbed with a knife and died. You know, so it was a little crazy. But he came up to me, and of course, this Ukrainian friend I just met who was interpreting for me, interpreted, and he said, "I'm sorry, I didn't realize you were American, and I didn't mean to startle you the other night. Let me buy you a Coke." So I said, "Well, sure. I'm not going to say no." So we went to the bar, he bought me a Coke, we're chatting. He says, "Yeah, I'm going to your country next month." I said, "What for?" He says, "You know, boxing. There's a boxing tournament, and I'm competing." I'm like, "Oh, yeah, so you're a boxer, that's your profession?" He says, "No, no, no, that's a hobby." I'm like, "Oh, okay, well, what do you do for your profession?" And he said, "That's an inappropriate question." And I said, "Thanks for the Coke," and took off. So that was my experience with the Ukrainian mafia.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
But you can also jump to the unexplored waters from a really high distances. I saw it on your Facebook.
Oh, jumping off waterfalls?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, that's kind of edging with insanity.
Well, this is one that people commonly do. On my Facebook, I think there's one jumping Mount Willie Falls.
No, there's some other one, really scary one.
Oh, okay. That one that's in Yellowstone National Park. And it was kind of crazy. I go up to Jackson Hole every year with my buddies from law school, and we spend a weekend or a week together catching up, like 15 or 20 of friends from New York. And so this one year we were jumping off the waterfall, and it's not so high from some lower parts, But the tricky thing is at the bottom of the waterfall, there's just a narrow area, probably 5 feet diameter, where you can land, and it's about 8 feet deep. And anything else around there is about 6 inches to 2 feet.
And what's the distance from the water to the waterfall, to the top?
From the top, it's probably 35 or 40 feet, so it's not that high. The tricky thing is...
You have to land in the little hole.
You have to land in the little hole, which is okay from the top of the waterfall. On the other side of the waterfall, there's a rock you can jump from, which was the big challenge where I was jumping that I couldn't see. I had to jump about 8 feet out over the waterfall into a blind landing. Like I couldn't see where the landing was. And that was the scary part.
So were you aware that you could kill yourself?
Well, I figured the worst case scenario, I'd break my leg and then I'd have to go to the hospital.
And you were still willing to do that?
I don't like to turn down a dare or a challenge.
Oh my goodness. Okay, then talking about daring and challenge, you can play piano with your feet. You can break bread with your feet. You can tap dance.
Well, I do more clogging than tap dance. Similar. I did, in terms of making sounds with my feet, I did a little bit of clogging, which is more American folk dancing. And instead of your tap shoes with the little metal on the bottom, yes, there's 2 metal plates that rattle against each other. So it's a lot noisier. And it's usually done to more country music or bluegrass music. And it's very hoedowny, but it's a lot of fun and energy. It's not as refined and crisp as tap. It's kind of loose and more freeform. And then I did Irish hard shoe, which is like, have you seen Riverdance?
Yes, but we are out of time.
Okay. Yeah.
I actually wanted to ask you to perform something. We only have 40 seconds left.
Well, I'll do a few seconds of some Irish hard shoe.
Okay, let's see.
So hands back, and it's all about holding together the...
Silly.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming here.
Sure.
An attorney, totally crazy, full of life, living delicious.
Yeah.
What a wonderful thing to have on my show. Thank you so much, Ethan.
Thank you, Helena.
I really appreciate it. I love having you here. Thank you. So, live delicious. If you don't know what to do with yourself, learn how to do. Oh, by the way, he can surf and all these other crazy things that we don't have time for now. So, watch us next time. And remember, life is short. Live delicious. Aloha.